And number 9, a common sense philosophy, faith for everyday life. This particular teaching deals with what we call a common sense philosophy for life. And what we have in mind here is to looking at some concepts of practical and moral wisdom which we can apply to our living. We will be viewing each in the manner that complications are present due to alcohol or other chemical addiction. Bill Keaton was the originator of a number of these lectures. He referred to this talk as hog trough philosophy. It is built on the premise that each person has the human capacity to change and to overcome obstacles confronted within and around himself. If you have taken the time and have made the effort to look and to listen to these teachings, you are the one who can change, even though alcohol or drugs have messed up and complicated your life right to this very moment. In some of these teachings I've mentioned the hitching post concept, and so I begin with this in this presentation. Each of us has acquired a set of values in our formation in life, and these values are important to us, and they're different for each of us. Included among these values would be our thoughts about family and profession, finances, recreation, religion. Life would be built on these values. They would constitute our hitching post. Whatever would form the progression in experiencing the loss of control of alcohol addiction or drug addiction, we would begin to see a new hitching post take control of our lives. The drug would become all-important, and anything that eventually stands in the way of the drug would have to go. Now all that surrounds the drinking, the family, the finances, the job, the courts, all these become affected and damaged. With the addiction present, it is not simply stopping the ingesting of booze and a return to the values with the ongoing sobriety that will win the day. It's going to take that to overcome the addiction. When the dependence on the drink is given up, there will be a great loss which creates what we could call a vacuum in the very center of our being. The hitching post, this chemical, the HP, represents that hitching post, but it could also be for a higher power. And from the 12 Steps program of Alcoholics Anonymous approach to sober life, uses this concept of a God, a higher power, God as I understand Him. There is no magical power in a bottle of alcohol that is going to just jump out and grab us. Human beings made in the likeness of God can stand up to the drink, to booze. Everyone listening to this talk has the ability to stand tall and stay away from the chemicals for the balance of life with adequate help, spiritual and all of the social helps available. The second circle on the diagram brings us to another concept. The circle represents the Earth with the equator and the north and south poles. We can be on the Earth at some point, possess a compass, and have a desire to reach the goal, the North Pole. But in our traveling, we are going to miss our goal in a a great distance by following the compass, because we will miss it by 1,000 miles, 800 miles. And why is that? Well, the Earth was covered with ice. The magnetic field was at the North Pole. But with the ice melted, it shifted. And we now have a magnetic North Pole. It requires, if we want to reach the North Pole, the goal that we have set, that we're going to have to make adjustments. And for the chemical dependency person who's activated the X factor, that adjustment requires that day-by-day abstinence from the chemical and accepting the help that we can get to achieve sobriety. When I become addicted to alcohol, something has entered to draw me astray. That physical X factor is present. I can't rely only on my reason and judgment and will to keep me sober. I may keep thinking that I can learn to control how to stop the drinks after a few, but the addiction takes charge and the loss of control of the amount is experienced repeatedly. The adjustment I must make to reach the goal of sober living is to take each 24 hours without that first drink. I have to realize that my reason and judgment and willpower will not be strong enough to just take it away once and final. All the intentions of my mind will go down the drain. I have to rely on God, on a program such as AA, or someone working a program of sobriety. It is not because I'm dumb, stupid, or immoral, but because I must make the much-needed adjustment to a physical force active in my life. And with God's help, and with the help of others, I can do this. We now turn to the sailboat concept. I have not had a great deal of experience in handling a sailing craft, yet enough to understand the fact that we're looking at in this concept. The question here is, how do you handle problems in life? Problems come to everyone, and people are facing them, many of them successfully. Our poor economy over the present years has been the cause of numerous special problems. Have they reached you? Well, that can be the wind blowing into the sail of your boat. The principal operation in this concept goes that it's not the blow of the gale, but it's the set of the sail that determines which way we go. The same wind blowing as we manage the sail can send one boat east and then back west. We can even move forward sailing right into the wind if we are patient. It depends on the person in the boat knowing how to manipulate the sail properly. Problems are universal. They come to everyone and have to be faced by everyone in some manner. A lot of people use problems as stepping stones, while others use them as a source of self-pity. The alcoholic says repeatedly, "Pour me, pour me, pour me another drink," and the bender follows. One lady felt her mother-in-law was picking on her, and she went on a drunk for a long period. Later, she realized that she treated every other person the same way, but they did not need to get drunk. Most of us want our problems to change. whether it is the spouse, the boss, the judge, the surroundings, or even the weather. But mostly, we need to change ourselves and learn to adjust. Man is a creature who can change the way he reacts. You are human, so you can do the same thing. And now we look at the garden principle. We have a garden spot in which we plant a crop. God sends the rain, the sunshine, and our seeds germinate and sprout. But the weed seeds grow as well. Our need now is to cultivate the crop plants we desire and weed out the undesirable. Thus we draw the conclusion that for the alcoholic at this point in the progression of the disease, stopping drinking doesn't solve all our problems. We hear about alcohol addiction and are excited. Go to some program for a while and quickly fall away. We may even during this time change some of the bad or for us dangerous practices. We're not lying to family and friends. But we still think that we can be in a bar and just drink Coke or 7-Up. Or we can still cash our checks in our bar. But what happens on that time when you enter the bar and your friend the bartender has forgotten that you're only drinking Coke now, and has opened your favorite brand of beer and offers it to you? Of course you don't want to embarrass your friend, so you start, and the drink follows. In my days of working in the alcohol treatment field, I would have people asking me how long they would need to follow the treatment plan. They have just begun. No matter what it was, my standard answer was, stay with it faithfully until you're able to make up your mind to perfectly follow it for the rest of your life. Then and only then may it be wise to stop the abuse, or to miss the weekly AA meeting, or change what other program you may be using. In growing the plant of sobriety, the man or woman needs to get the plant strong enough to stand the normal weather problems. This does not mean that to make this recovery that we must go to a psychiatrist for professional help. Some may, but most have the ability to stand up as persons of character and not go back to the past. I do have to recognize and admit to myself that I am a man or woman with a problem. There can be no cheating on that fact. Cheating for me is whatever I find in my behavior that triggers my return to using and loss of control using. If I know what I must do to keep sober, then cheating is everything or anything I do or don't do to keep the sobriety going. There are a variety of ways of looking at concepts that can apply to the life of the addicted person. A key thought on all of them is that a man or woman made in the image of God can make changes in life to achieve the better life. I close this teaching with two of the poems. This poem is entitled The Touch of the Master's Hand, and it's by Myra B. Welch. 'Twas battered and scarred, and the auctioneer thought it scarcely worth his while to waste much time on the old violin, but he held it up with a smile. "What am I bidding, good folks?" he cried. "Who'll start the bidding for me? $1, only two? $2, and who'll make it 3? $3 once, $3 twice, and going for 3, but no. From the room far back came a gray-haired man, came forward and picked up the bowl, then wiping the dust from the old violin and tightening the loose strings, he played a melody pure and sweet as a caroling angel sings. The music ceased, and the auctioneer, with a voice that was quiet and low, said, "What am I bid for the old violin?" And he held it up with the bowl. $1,000, who'll make it 2? 2,000, who'll make it 3? 3,000 once, 3,000 twice, and going and gone, said he. The people cheered, but some of them cried, "We do not quite understand what changed its worth." Swiftly came the reply, "The touch of the Master's hand." And many a man with life out of tune, and battered and scarred with sin, is auctioned cheap to the thoughtless crowd, much like the old violin. A mess of pottage, a glass of wine, a game, and he travels on. He's going once, going twice, he's going and almost gone. But the Master comes, and the foolish crowd can never quite understand the worth of a soul and the change that's wrought by the touch of the Master's hand. This next poem is entitled Myself and is by Edgar A. Guest. Myself. I have to live with myself, and so I want to be fit for myself to know. I want to be able, as days go by, to always look myself straight in the eyes. I don't want to stand with the setting sun and hate myself for the things I've done. I don't want to keep on a closet shelf a lot of secrets about myself and fool myself as I come and go into thinking that nobody else will know the kind of man I really am. I don't want to dress myself in sham. I want to go out with my head erect. I want to deserve all men's respect. But here in the struggle for fame and pelf, I want to be able to like myself. I don't want to look at myself and know that I'm bluster and bluff and empty show. I can never hide myself from me. I see what others may never see. I know what others may never know. I never can fool myself, and so whatever happens I want to be self-respecting and conscience-free. God bless.